Hey everyone, this video is part of a two-part follow-up to my Great War Redux video. In this video, I'll be interviewing high-ranking developer Shadow and talking about the problems inside the game, and the developer team. Alright, welcome everyone to my interview with former high-ranking developer of the Great War Redux, Shadow. Shadow is coming to me after having recently been banned on the 28th of January 2026 after my Great War Redux video. As such, this is the second interview I am doing with Shadow, because the first interview is being remade because of his recent ban. Shadow, introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm Shadow. I was part of the Great War Redux team for about 2 years, a year and a half to 2 years. And I made the first interview after the drama started happening, because, to try to defuse the situation, and of course, defend the mod. And I think I did a good job. I,
You
you know, me
did
and
a
Eric,
great job.
me and Eric talked a lot, and the mod head, Rusick, and Silent, they're unhappy with me during the interview, but it kept at that. But as of recent, lots of things happened, and I was subsequently banned from the mod. So
hmm
I am now here
And to
redoing the
clear this
server.
up, you were banned for simply trying to get reforms started.
Yes, I didn't do
So,
it perfectly,
mm,
but I tried very hard to defend them in the mod, and for that I was banned. So.
mm. So I'm just gonna point this out to the viewers. Shadow, who was literally trying to defend the mod, and I'm gonna be honest, was complaining to me that was too harsh for a long time, was still banned. Purely because he chose to have dialogue and respectful civility with me, and chose to ask for reforms. Because of this, because of acting like a mature man, Shadow was banned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not a great
So,
situation.
I'll let you talk. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I tried very hard to talk to the team, to talk to Silent and Rusick, and we were starting to get some reforms going, but obviously too little, too late, and here I am now,
Mm-hmm.
gone from the team. 2 years
Yeah.
of working for nothing.
Mm. Yeah, those reforms. Let's talk about that a little bit. We as of recently, the Great War Redux team has deleted all channels and replaced them. So I assume that's something to do with reforms to clear the history of like the old bad history of bad reputation in public chats. But some of my viewers have seen it as them wiping evidence. What do you say about that?
Well, it probably is, honestly. If you go to any of those chats and enter in like the R word or something, I mean, you'll just see hundreds, if not thousands, of appearances. Um, and I think that was like the original chat from all the way back when the mod started and with the
Wow.
Discord channel started. So, I mean, there's just years of built up stuff, not just from the team, obviously, but from viewers that went,
The public,
not viewers,
yeah.
public that went unchecked. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah, and that's what I dislike, Like, even if it was genuine, the reputation of the Great War Redux has fallen so hard that we can't trust them. No, you can't trust them anymore. They betrayed your trust when you tried asking for simple reforms. You asked. Let me clarify. Did you ask for Dementia to resign so reforms could come in place?
I did.
Yes. And because you asked to try and save the mod, improve it, you're banned.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole situation to it. Aaron knows some about it, but it's like
Mm.
we had this group chat that we're all a part of, and basically an ex team member who made an account for a current team member, then went back on the account and started, I mean, I don't even know how to describe it, honestly. It's just,
Just
started
doing chaotic stuff.
chaotic stuff. And I'm
Mm.
not mad at him for that, really, so. But just, it got happened to the boiling point, you can only push so hard before, something happens, and, well, something happened, that's for sure. And,
Hmm.
as a as a consequence of that, I tried telling them, well, to be honest, I wasn't completely honest with you or them because I was trying to play the middleman, trying to reconcile the situation, because there's plenty of
Yeah, and fair
stuff.
enough. You're trying to save the mod.
There's plenty of stuff I could have sent you, Air, to like just totally ruin any hope of trying to put the mod in a good light. And I didn't completely be honest with the team that of the stuff I was telling you because I was trying to just play the good middleman. And
Hmm.
and then they Russick and Silent were trying to accuse me of leaking stuff, and I'm like, I leaked maybe 2 screenshots,
No,
really.
you only leaked screenshots that I requested because I wanted to make sure no harm was being done. Right, to
And
check in on dementia and stuff, right?
yeah, I mean it's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, so Shadow, I'm gonna make this very, very clear for those Great War Redux members watching right now. I know you're watching. I know you're watching. I know you're obsessed with me exposing you, right? Shadow did nothing. Shadow kept complaining that I was being too harsh on you. Shadow kept saying that you Rustic is actually a good person and you betrayed him. You banned him.
It's true. And one of the videos
You are
that Error,
despicable people. Sorry. I'll let you talk.
one of the videos that Error is editing at this moment. I think I'll be released along with this interview. The one of the title things of it was going to be the Rise of Evil, talking about Russick,
Yeah.
and I
Mm,
stepped in as like, maybe not call him evil,
that's too
but
far.
I, I mean,
Yeah.
Error will tell you time and time again, as like, you know, I let Error pretty much get away with a lot to talk about Russick, but like, I, convinced Error not to just decide to go hell against the mod itself. I convinced him that some people that he saw say bad things were just immature, good, but very good people that I know, So it's
Hmm.
just all of the like saving ass I tried to do, and this is how I get treated. It hurts, but it is what
Yeah.
it is.
And I'm gonna cut in here. This just reinforces my belief that, Dementia, Silent, they just got their own little echo chamber going, right? I have to be completely loyal to them. No matter how much, no matter, Shadow literally broke his ass trying to protect them from me, and he gets punished. Like, this is the
Also,
level of insanity those two have. And it's not the entire developer team. There are current devs who also DM'd me who are in fear of them. They can't work on the mod. And they're just being targeted. And the few loyal ones, even good people like you, who was playing the middle ground, you weren't going to my side, but you weren't going to their side completely, and then you're just getting pushed away.
yeah. And also for the viewers, Russick and Dementia, those are the same people. They just go by different aliases at times.
Yeah. Anyways, let's give the people what they want. Let's ask questions.
All right.
So, why is the culture of the Great War Redux so toxic?
I can't answer that completely because partly I don't know. Um, I think that it's just Russick, Silent, and some other people don't want to be told no. They don't like
Hmm.
the criticism, and they just don't care enough to try to change. So when we first did this interview, I couldn't completely tell you why it's so toxic, and even after being banned and whatnot, doing the second interview, I still can't really tell you why it's so toxic because it's a phenomenon. Really, it's beyond me.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Was it already like this before you came?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty toxic.
Oh man. So onto that point then. Do you think, since you're gone now, you're probably the only high-ranking reformist? Do you think there's any chance that the mod gets saved?
I think there's still a chance. Um,
Mm-hmm.
selfish part of me, now that I'm gone from the team, doesn't want it to be saved. I can't lie to you. There's a selfish part of me
Mm-hmm.
that thinks maybe it is just time to let it burn. But I mean, there's people left that I'm unsure of what they're gonna do now that all this has happened. But if they do decide to
Yeah.
stay, they could try to save the mod. But the problem is, it's not even the content that's the problem. I mean, people are mad at the content, but we can make good content, and that's what we were doing. That we were working on the Austria-Hungary rework. I was working on Hungary specifically, and I was really proud of what I was
Yeah.
doing. I
Yeah.
was
I'll vouch
excited.
for Shadow here. Shadow decided to show me the gameplay he was coding for Hungary, just to get some advice, just so that like there would be less like outrage if Hungary got released. And I have to say, it was good content. It followed what I think is good, and it probably was not what Rusick wanted, though, but it was
Well,
good. It was
he
good
doesn't
content.
comment too much on Austria-Hungary. He
Mm.
didn't while I was there. But it's the problem is not the content because me and another developer talked about this. Is like we can and we are making good content that not everyone will love, but still a lot of people will enjoy. But that's not the
Hmm.
problem. The problem is Rustic, silence, and the refusal to change. And
Hmm.
because Rustic's admitted to me that he doesn't care, that he's not gonna like ever step down, you know,
Yeah.
I don't think it's reformable beyond
Mm.
really that because Rustic,
Yeah.
he's not totally evil. I'm mad at him
Are
for
you
how
sure
he
about
treated
that?
me. Yeah, um,
Still
but
defending him after he banned you?
well, I mean, I can't say that he hasn't done any of the nice things to me in the past 2 years, but he's not gonna
Mm.
step down, and purely because of that, the mod can only be saved so much.
Yeah. So basically, if Rusick and Silent do not go away, there is no hope in reforming the mod.
Yeah. And I would even go as far as saying they don't even have to go away, but they need to change. But I'm no longer so naive to think that they will change.
Mm.
I now know that they
Yeah.
won't. So
Hmm. So, if you could attribute a percentage of how much of the mod's problems come from those two, how much percentage would you give them?
like half of it, half
50%
of
of
it, I'd
all the
say.
problems in the Great War Redux come from two head developers.
I'd say yes.
I think they were being a bit of an understatement here. I think I asked this question to every single dev I've interviewed
Hmm.
in DMs. I think the average score was between 70 to 90. I think one of the Korean devs,
Hmm.
oh no, sorry, Asian devs. Don't want to generalize, but he said, I kid you not, if Silent and Rusick were to be banned from the mod would look like Kaiserak and how good it is.
It could be a little bit higher than 50%. You know.
Yeah. Mm. So this time I'm just gonna highlight to the viewers. The first interview was actually more focused on gameplay than drama, but due to current circumstances, we're focusing more on drama. But we will have gameplay questions later, so stay tuned. But I'm just gonna get the drama through first because there's a lot of stuff on Shadow's chest he wants to get off, and yeah.
All right.
Mhm. So next question: why is politics enforced so heavily in the Great War Redux?
Well, I reckon it's not. It wasn't my decision, or really any of the developers. It's kind of a Rusick decision, honestly.
Hmm.
And I'll give Silent credit where credit is due. He usually doesn't dwell much forcefully into he'll talk about politics with people, but he doesn't nearly get as much far into as Rusick does.
No, he
But
doesn't ban people if they disagree with him over
um,
politics.
he might have before, but I haven't seen it. But what I was leading to is where he falls short, in my opinion, is letting Resic go unchecked. Because many times the team, not just me, has brought up complaints about Resic and his talk of politics, and every time we have, Silent has defended him, and that's where he falls short, in my opinion. Because just because he isn't doing the actions Resic does, but yet he's defending him, which I get because they are in real life
Yeah,
friends.
they're real life
Still,
friends.
at some point, you know you
Mm.
can't just blatantly defend Resic like
No,
this.
you can't. And this is a big issue that comes up with Silent is that during his time in Renner, and he's the reason Russick is in power, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and there was a whole council to get him out, right? To get Russick out.
Yeah.
And were you on that council?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys all wanted him out, right?
We did. Or we didn't
But
exactly want
Silent
him out of the
convinced you guys
mod,
to stay?
but not
Hmm?
mod lead.
You
Well,
didn't
it
want him as
wasn't.
mod lead.
Yeah, it wasn't completely silent. At some point, we kind of realized that he's going to be mod lead no matter what, and at that point in time, things weren't so bad that we are ready to leave. So we just kind of said, "Oh well,
Mm.
whatever. We'll get over it."
Would you say people were naive at that time into believing that would be okay?
I certainly was. I
Mm.
don't want to call some others naive, but I say partially yes.
Mm. Right. And you would say that this political, stuff, the association with extremism in the Great War Redux, would you say Russick has exemplified that?
I think he has.
Mm.
I
Mm.
mean, you can only talk
And
about eugenics
yeah,
so much before you're kind of an extremist, and you can only
yeah,
change your beliefs so often that you just seem inconsistent.
yeah.
It's not
And
everything that
it's,
Russ.
yeah.
Sorry, you go ahead.
You keep going, sorry.
Not everything that Russick's done, but talking about politics, I disagree with. Like one example, he might. I don't even know what he is, but for a while he led us to be under the belief he's transgender. Whether he genuinely is or not, I'm not exactly sure. But he makes
Well,
posts about Gay Pride Month, and we all have different opinions. But in my opinion, like being able to love someone of your I'm not gay by the way, but being able to be gay is not political in my opinion. And
hmm,
so,
yeah.
I mean, I'll give him there. And some people, when
Mm,
we'd make those announcements, would react with X's and poo emojis, which
yeah.
we did ban those people immediately
Yeah.
because it's 20. It was 2025. Now
20,
it's 2026, and we're
2025.
still not,
Mm-hmm.
still having homophobia. So we maybe it was the right thing to immediately ban those people because they could have just been doing a childish joke. But
Yeah.
that's something I'll defend him on. Is like he
Mm.
didn't he didn't let certain things like homophobia or
Yeah,
racism.
but that's where the hypocrisy
happen.
comes in, right? Rasik hates people that go anything he does, right? He says, "Oh, we don't tolerate this sort of, bigotry, racism, homophobia," and then you just have entire, like, I think it's like entire piles. I think I have 400 files from assorted people, right? There'll be in my description link called the Redux files, and that's only half of them I managed to find. But it's literally just Russick saying the most horrendous stuff. Like I have one of him saying "Heil mustache man," and he says, "Oh, the context was I was explaining something, right?" There's
Yeah,
what context is this? Why was this even discussed in the first place? Like, what sort
I
of
don't know.
conversation have you reached that you're saying
I don't know.
"Heil mustache man"?
I don't know. I remember one conversation we had where he was genuinely justifying eugenics. So I don't know.
Yeah. But what would you say Russick's political ideology is? Because from what I've seen, he has no coherent political ideology. Like the communists in my comments hate him. The right wingers hate him. Everyone hates him. It seems like in my opinion, he's schizophrenic. He
I mean, I
hates
think.
Bolshevism. He wants death to America. He has Allahu Akbar in his bio. What is he?
I think he's actually transcended onto a whole other lane of politics that we'll never be able to understand. So we gotta give
Yeah.
him. Gotta
Oh,
give
and then
him
he
the
has
head.
a Boris Savinkov profile picture. Uh,
Yeah, he's on a whole different. We're we're playing checkers, he's playing 40 chess, so
Yeah.
obviously he must have something going on for him that we just
Yeah.
won't ever be able to understand.
Look, Rustic, no hate to you, man, but you need help. I know you're listening to this. I know you're scared that Shadow's gonna out you for stuff, and I feel like Shadow's still holding back, but you need help, man. But yeah.
One thing I will
So
say,
following on to this. Sorry, wait, actually you go ahead first.
while the whole drama's breaking down, Silent said that I should kill myself, and
He did.
Russick, to his defense, said no and told Silent that's not the right thing to say to me. So
Wow.
yeah,
Maybe there is some good in him. But I have seen
he
him tell other people
is.
to kill themselves.
Yeah, Russick,
Yeah.
um, with people he knows, not just random strangers he argues with, he is extremely forgiving, and he has always been forgiving. Like I've left or been banned from the mod once or twice before because of just bullshit drama, and
Mm.
I came back, talked to Russick, was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk like this, do this and whatnot. And Russick
Hmm.
was pretty much every time like, yeah, all right, whatever, welcome back, and so
Hmm.
he's extremely
But the
forgiving
good
to
thing
people
would
he
be
knows.
that you wouldn't get banned in the first place. Like, why would you
Yeah,
even be put in that situation? I
yeah,
suspect you've been banned from some bullshit stuff. Like, I've seen Captain Luck, head of the Hoi 4 art server, go around banning people for nothing.
yeah.
Yeah. So, what I was talking about as we lead back to my point is that, you know, it's this extreme political, whatever he is, and he just enforces that in the server, right? And as like he's just an extremely political individual, and that's
Yeah.
where I dislike it. It affects how he runs the server.
Yeah, and prior to me getting kicked today, as of recording this, same day as me getting kicked, actually, another team
Hmm.
member, um, who I've been talking to, finally lobbied Rustic and Silent enough to agree to no politics in like the main chat, and assuming no politics and announcements either, and to make a separate politics chat. So it's a shame because we were making slow progress.
Yeah, they were making progress, and then they just chucked it all out the window.
Yep.
Yep. So as we continue on, um, yeah, let's talk about the ideology, the how the mod is run, the developer team. So first of all, last interview we touched on the political like announcements you guys do,
Hmm.
and the stupid ban, the American flag ban. And
Yeah.
and last interview you said you disagreed with them, except for
Yeah.
the announcements one. You said, I remember you distinctly saying, it's our opinions and we're not afraid to share them. Do you
Hmm.
still stand by that?
Um, yeah, I stand by it. I'd say that I don't like how he announces it to everyone and then strictly enforces it,
Hmm.
but I feel that we as a mod can announce our opinions, you know? But the problem is
Hmm.
that not every opinion is how we all truly feel. Because, like,
Hmm.
for example, Israel and Palestine war, I think pretty much the entire team was, all kind of agree that what Israel is doing is not right. I won't try.
Hmm.
I'll keep out of current world politics to not alienate your viewers.
Hmm.
But for that, most of us agreed. For then the Iran Israel stuff, it became a little bit more split, but we just didn't really care enough. And then when it came to the banning of the American flag after the uh, um,
Venezuela.
Venezuela, that it was just corny. It's like what? It's, um, and then he
Yeah.
tried saying it's equivalent of the Nazi flag, which don't get me wrong, America as a country has definitely done terrible things,
Yeah, but not the
but
same
like,
as the Third Reich.
I've had family members die defending what the flag means, and sure, the country strayed kind of away from the idea of the flag truly representing freedom, but shoot, man, like people in my family and friends' families and people I know have gotten
Hmm.
hurt, wounded, and died fighting for that. the idea that flag represents. And I told him that's freaking stupid, man. Why are you banning the flag? And I remember the morning I woke up and saw that, like, I put a American flag in general chat to honestly see if anything would happen, and I slapped with a 1 week ban, and not 1 week mute from every channel.
For that, for a single
And
American flag.
yep,
And I
and then I
think you
went,
got a flight.
yeah, and I went and
If he
told
didn't know
Rustic,
you, you'd be banned instantly.
yeah, I went and told Rustic, like, this is insane. And we kind of had a small conversation. Um, the thing is, like, Rustic will say agreeable things, but then in reality, not do that. Because he was saying, well, I just don't like people using the flag to represent imperialism. I was like, that's fair.
Hmm.
And he says he
But
thinks it's
no one was doing
inappropriate.
that.
Yeah, he says he thinks it's inappropriate to, like, be flaunting the flag after an illegal strike on a sovereign country. I was like, that's fine, whatever, but, like, you're not doing this. So I eventually just stopped caring. I was like, all right, my bad, dude, whatever. I won't put the American
Mm.
flag on, and he
And
unmuted me.
and to prove that isn't really about the legal strikes, but more than just him pushing his own political ideology, right? If he really
Yeah,
cared about that, once the whole Venezuela thing died down, he probably would have removed the ban, right? But no, it stayed in place, and a bunch of you viewers have actually got banned for it. I'm just gonna point out one viewer got banned in 12 seconds and 11 milliseconds for posting an American flag.
I think I could do it quicker.
Hey, we're gonna do a speed run.
Yeah,
Everyone speed run posting American. No, don't actually do that. But
yeah. Well, seriously,
yeah.
this is a good segue to talk about before I left, or not left, forcefully pushed out of the mod. A lot of people who saw the first video about the Great War would then join the mod to just shit post and try to start stuff. And not all of them. Some people were genuinely curious,
No,
like, is this bad? I'm not gonna bring up a certain event that a certain person who joined and they posted very certain gifs that I think Air
no.
ends up talking
Yeah, I'm
about.
gonna highlight that. I've already made a community post about this. I do not want to see you raiding and putting gore. You know what I'm talking about, right? I'll put the community post on screen for the editing, right? You know what not to put. If I see you, I see screenshots. I have insiders in the dev team. I see screenshots. I'll put you on my YouTube. You let the entire Hoi 4 community see what you do. I don't care if you think you're a cool, holy guy destroying the Great War Redux, right? Let me handle that. That's my job. You don't go posting that and damaging my name and my movement.
Yeah, like, and before I left, or not left, but one of Russick
Yeah.
and Silent's main complaints with you is they saw you kind of as like a grifter who's just um clouting
Trying to
using
content farm.
drama. Yeah. And I was like, well, I
Oh,
mean,
I've made no money. I have made 0 cents.
yeah.
I'm just a random guy who wanted to make one TNO video, and this exploded. But I'll let you
And
continue.
I told them, I was like, he's not Airlog is just by no means perfect, and he said things as like trying to take the mod down, that he now has gone back on after I talked to him. 'Cause I was like, do you guys not realize how much worse this would be if I hadn't kept trying to represent the mod and be a good neutral ground to talk to him? Because, like,
Yeah.
we got things figured out, and he kind of realized that maybe the video, and I don't even think he knows that the video he posted has had unintended consequences, and
Yeah.
he doesn't agree with those. And just because people come here and because they were claiming that you tried to start a raid, I was like, no,
No,
people
no,
are
no,
always
no.
going to do dumb crap like this. It's not. He didn't go tell them, hey, go raid the server. He didn't say anything like this. It's just people on the internet. No offense to all the viewers, but some of y'all can be
Yeah.
pretty
So
dumb.
actually, all my community posts recently where I've been talking about not raiding the server, not raiding the server, not raiding the server. Guess who's been telling me to post that? Guess who's been advising me? It's this guy, it's Shadow. He was literally trying to get me to help him stop these raids and stuff. Right?
Yeah, I
And
mean
they
the
still
stuff I
banned him.
saw last. Yeah, the stuff I saw last
They
night was
still banned
terrible.
him.
The type of
Like, sorry, you go, you go.
deplorable people that I saw last night, because as of too late. I was gonna go to bed, but I was checking Discord one more time to see if Mr. Airlog, had said anything to me. And I saw a ping in general chat, so I automatically thought this is probably someone pinging moderator admin. So either A, report someone trying to start stuff, or B, they are pinging us directly to start stuff. And the things I saw when I clicked on general chats, I cannot talk about because it will get
No,
this
we
video.
can't talk about that. This will
Yeah.
get the video taken down, but
I think
I've made the
everyone can
community
kind of
post for it.
imagine the type
Yeah.
of terrible content that I saw, then had to delete by myself. I mean, it's
It's horrible, man.
nothing anybody should see.
Yeah. But this still doesn't excuse what the like the legitimate bans, like the people who are banned for no reason.
Yeah.
It just lumps them all together and it just ruins the argument. We can't preach just moral high ground of oh, people getting banned for no reason when we got people actually posting this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's move on from there. I think I'm just gonna do another question. Let's do gameplay. Let's do a little bit of gameplay.
All right.
Why was the Germany rework done so bad?
Well, I think the main reason the Germany rework was done so bad is because this guy who was doing main rework on Germany, incredibly nice guy. I'm not gonna say his name, but super nice guy. I love him. He, then went inactive. So then another dev who has since retired, his name's Lavry, he's French. He's like, hey, why don't we take this old content and release it? And initially, he was actually talking about just kind of releasing it as is, where politics was not even done until 1914, where we keep we'd release 1910 to 1912 politics rework, then the rest is just what we already had. But then, to Silent's credit, Silent was like, no, it's not going to be good at all if we do it like that. So then we kind of had an impromptu Germany rework. But it was rushed because since you said this last time, which is really great way to put it, Germany's the main player in Hoi 4
The main
on almost every
character.
mod. Yeah.
Yeah, Germany's the main character of Hoi 4. That's my opinion. Everyone goes to
So,
load and see how big Germany is.
yeah. So, we were really just wanting to get Germany out as quick as we can, And we had made some last-minute decision changes without consulting the entire Germany team. And by we, I just mean the higher-ups
Rustic.
in general.
Yeah, so according
I
to
didn't
witness
touch.
testimony, Rustic has done things such as, the border goal for Germany? That was him. He released it days before the update, and that broke it. And before the Ottoman one, the massive North Africa states guys, how they messed up. According to witness testimony, that's also from him. And yeah, he does these things without consulting devs. He just puts them in embrace updates. And I want to see what your opinion is on that.
It's not completely Russick. Like the German states, it was not his original idea, but he supported it. And yeah, like he definitely did not intend to break the mod, but it was an oversight that he should have seen. And we're just pretty much trying to rush out content, especially one like in that final. I don't know if any other modders who are watching this can agree, but in that final stretch of content where you're so close to being done, where you can release it, but you're not quite there yet. You're trying to do everything you can to kind of just cut corners and get it done, So that's kind of how it was. And we didn't test it well enough. And then, when we released it, we all knew it was going to get a bad reception because of removing the backstab path.
Of course, that was the most popular path.
Yeah.
I downloaded the Great War Redux just to play that path.
But yeah, it was released without proper testing and without checks and balances. So.
Which is unfortunate. Because if the entire alternate history paths were implemented all together in like one big rework, maybe it wouldn't have been so bad. And
there was a lot
and
of
we're gonna
history planned for Germany,
Sorry?
but it didn't we didn't. It just we wanted to get it out, so it was scrapped and
Yeah,
planned on being put in a different update. But that update hasn't
yeah.
come and won't come for a while.
So it's a shit ton of miscommunication along with a lot of rushing from modders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next question. We touched on the Balkan League Ottoman update last time.
hmm
Um, do you still stand by your position that so I talked about how you said the Balkan League War is very hard to win as the Ottoman Empire unless
hmm
you're like extremely skilled, right?
hmm
Right? The first Balkan War,
hmm
right? And
Yeah.
I said, why don't you reward the player by letting them annex them? Because if it's so hard, and you said no, modifiers are enough. I'm just gonna see if you still stand by that.
And I do still stand by that because I joined the Great War Redux to make historical accurate content or very plausible historical, alt historical, I mean, content.
Hmm.
And that's the direction as a mod that we wanted to move. And
Hmm.
so I was one of the big reasons that the Ottomans can no longer annex the Balkan League, because I won't go
Hmm.
into long spiel, but basically historically, um, very inaccurate and impossible, and it doesn't make much sense because they could barely hold on to their Balkan possessions as is. Why?
Hmm.
How are they going to be able to annex four countries that definitely do not want to be annexed by them? It doesn't make sense
Mm.
from any point of view. And some, I think, Air says like, well, it comes to a point. Do you want to have a fun game or like a simulator? It's like, well, we're
Yeah,
trying to
this
do
is
both.
my where we disagree
And
because
we're trying
in
to do
my
both.
view, sorry, if I can cut in here.
Yeah, go ahead.
In my view, it's a game, not a historical simulation. But I suppose Shadow believes it's a historical situation simulation. So I'll let you keep going. I'm sorry about that.
No problem. Is I don't think it's entirely historical simulation, but as a mod, we were trying to represent history very closely, and we were no longer hiding that. We weren't hiding that. They were trying to shift, and that's the way as the mod that we wanted to move. You know,
Mm.
and the one problem I brought up last time is that we can only really work on one country at a time. When there's different
Yeah.
people working on different countries at the same time, but for the Balkan League, I initially began working in Bulgaria, and then it's like, well, Bulgaria's a major part of the Balkan League, kind of got to rework the entire Balkan League now. And then at the Balkan League, it's like, well, for this to make sense, I'd have to kind of rework the Ottomans too, but I was an Ottoman dev and I did not want to. So, like,
Hmm.
there should be kickback for the player for winning as the Ottomans, just not land-wise,
Yep.
which you can disagree with, that's fine. But in real life, they're a political mess, and if they had somehow got their stuff together and won that war, their politics in the coming years would have been a lot different. But obviously, I couldn't rework Bulgaria, the Balkan League, and the Ottomans all at once. It had to be segmented.
Yeah.
So that's
That's a big issue, isn't it?
yeah. So
Yeah.
the modifier itself is not enough, but I couldn't just snap my fingers and then make the Ottoman rework done. I couldn't
Yeah.
do that. So
Great.
it's piece by piece.
Yeah. So next question is, why are there so many cases of leadership mismanagement, especially from cases like Rusik? We talked about Ching submod in the first interview. Um, you know, the Chinese Eastern Railway.
Yeah,
That was
I'm
Rusik.
surprised we
That
did.
was
I
him
didn't.
going in, disregarding the Asia team lead, saying, "Yeah, just put a railway in there. It was sovereign territory." Probably some Russian bias with that. What's up with that? What's up with cases like that?
So Rusik as lead dev, I guess, as any lead dev, he gets to make the final decisions. But unlike some other lead devs, he didn't. You know, he he wouldn't listen sometimes. Like he was set on how he thinks it should be, wouldn't change. In the Chinese Eastern Railway, I'm surprised we didn't talk about that last time. That I'll actually side with him with because it's kind of confusing. As a mod, we don't have a set guideline as to what makes a nation autonomous and a tag instead of just a state modifier or something else, you know?
Because
So,
the reasoning was, why weren't the concessions in like Shandong and other things entire nations also? But he turned an entire railway, which a railway is pretty small, man.
um,
The if you put the size in on real life, I think it actually stretched into real Qing territory.
yeah. I am not a developer for East Asia, so I can't give you like maybe the reasons Rusk was thinking of exactly or his
Of
research,
course.
but I do know that the Chinese Eastern Railway, I mean, it's pretty niche and pretty unknown because it's railway, but it did have some interesting history in the Russian Civil War, and that's kind of why it was put there too. Because at the same time when they were reworking the
Mhm.
Russian Civil War, and as a railway, it was pretty completely autonomous from Qing. So that's the reasons, you know, the guy who's in charge of it, he made laws entire completely autonomously from Qing, and I can't. There's a certain name they gave the city during the like Civil War in Russia and in China. I can't remember it. It was like kind of seen as a haven where you could escape the Russian Civil War and the troubles of Qing. Obviously, that didn't
Mhm.
work out too long because all the chaos happened in the subsequent years. But it was completely different from Qing and completely different from Russia at the same time. And
Yeah.
why we didn't make the
Um.
others a concession, I don't know. I can't give you an answer
Yeah,
because I
that's why
just
I
don't know.
disagree. If you're gonna do that, you should standardize it for the rest of the mod. But it's gonna. Well, we got. We're gonna move on. Sorry.
Hmm. No, you're good.
Um. During that case, there's witness testimony of Russick straight up just being racist to the Asia team. I'm pretty sure he called one of them uncivilized Orientals.
See
And he
that?
said
I did not
Chinese
know.
isn't Chinese. When someone started speaking Chinese, he said, "I don't speak alien." Yeah,
This is before my time, so
sorry, but
no, you're
it
good.
does match up with a pattern, right? This is what I'm leading on to. Have you seen people like Russick, you know, I know Hall, Silent? Have you
I
seen them
mean, I
racially
know
abusing
Shao.
other devs or just insulting, you know, other devs to that level?
Um, Not so much. I can't think of a specific occasion. I wouldn't
Hmm.
necessarily doubt that has happened before. And sometimes
Hmm.
I'll say that they may have been joking, but it's a bad place joke, and it's hard to joke with someone that's not exactly your friend. For example, there's our mod team's very diverse, and there's this one French guy we used to have, and we'd occasionally clown him for speaking French, call it fake
Hmm.
language. I don't understand baguette, blah blah blah. But it's not a good idea to joke or tease like that when you don't actually know someone and you're kind of in the middle of an argument.
Hmm.
So
But a lot of these comments I've been seeing, right? These happened whenever there was content arguments. So whenever Russick was arguing, because you said he likes to get his way. He and Silent want to get his way, their ways, right?
hmm
But they abuse their power. I have so much testimony of them really just firing people because they didn't get the stuff they wanted, banning
yeah,
them, abusing them, insulting them. I'm pretty sure one developer said, I'm just read out the quote. I don't want to put it on screen because I don't think they want this one on screen. But Russick and Silent are the biggest circle jerk ever. They insult everyone, but just up to the point where they're tolerated to stay, but to make them also feel really, really bad. And it's not just Russick; it's Silent also, and Silent enables him. Without Silent, Russick is nothing. Silent is the mastermind behind it all. Russick is the face. Silent is the hands. Silent is controlling whatever Russick does. If Silent lets Russick be a crazy schizo, Silent allows him. But if Silent does not let him, Russick is contained. The problem is that Silent and Russick are such close IRL friends that Russick can do basically whatever he wants, and Silent will join in, back him up, and use their powers to get anyone who disagrees.
yeah, I'd agree with that. That kind of brings up earlier when I said that I don't think Silent It's nearly as bad as Resic, but he falls short because he doesn't stand up when he should, you know?
He enables him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's keep going. I'm running out of questions. We're actually going through this pretty fast since we've actually gotten to know each other a bit more in the week since the original first interview. Why is moderation so enforced? So we're going to be talking about, no appeals for banning, getting banned for no reason. For example, in our first interview, we talked about how I was banned.
Yeah.
I got banned randomly. I got banned because my name is Errorlog. And I think I posted my TNO video in the off-topic channel. But I still got banned anyways. I woke up next day, no explanation, nothing. Tried going to the server, nothing. Yeah, why do cases like that happen?
I think once again it kind of boils down to Resic, to be honest with you. I think the part of not having an appeal system is actually just an oversight. Not because, like, when there'll be someone, like, they'll say, oh, my friend got banned for whatever reason, I'd say about half the time that we unban that person. So the not having an appeal system, I do think is just an oversight. But the uncontrolled banning and moderation, I will say I do think at least a quarter of it, some people, I'm not saying all the people who have come to you with evidence and complained are like this, but I think at least maybe a quarter, or maybe a little bit less, they got an argument with Rustic or whatever. They just don't like Rustic or Silent for a reason, and then they come here kind of misrepresenting it. Because we've banned a lot of people, obviously. I'd say 25.
I think it's up to 5,000, and that was in 2024. That's I think, looking at your Great War Redux server, that's just under half your server count.
But I do think 25 to 50% of the bans were justified because we, I mean, it happens to every server. People come in and they either just spew terrible crap, whether it be genocide defenders, etc., or there'll be people coming to argue with no goal other than just to argue. So I'll say 25, 50%.
I would support some of that. I still stand by my point that I would rather the long paragraph explaining why you're wrong than just the ban hammer, because I still believe you should be able to criticize stuff like the banning for historical accuracy. Seriously, that I'm calling that out. That's bullshit. You people barely hear me swear, but that's fucking bullshit, man. You can't ban people for complaining, man.
Yeah, I think we banned. I know I have done it a little. Like, for example, there's this one guy who's really passionate about the Ottoman Empire not being able to, annex the Balkan countries. I think he was Turkish, so maybe that had part of it. And we were arguing, and I gave many more points as to why they couldn't do it. As to why I gave this interview, because I don't want to talk about the Ottoman Empire all day. But I was given point after point after point, because say what you will, but like me and other people have done hours of researching to make the historical content, and after doing that, I came to the conclusion that the Ottoman Empire annexing the Balkan League is historically out the window. So, and I told him that. I told him, gave him point after point after point, and he just kept on saying the same thing, like no, blah blah blah, like bring back the Third Rome path. I was like, at this point, you're not going to be happy, and you're just arguing to argue. So I did ban that dude because it's like, I don't want to go outside, leave me alone.
But you'd say mainly it's rustic and stuff. Like, I know you've just admitted to doing it, which, good on you for at least owning up to it, huh?
I'll defend myself. I'll say that was deserved, because he just kept on pestering me about the Ottoman Empire.
But for cases like rustic bans, like silent bans, it's not like that. Would you agree? Like some of the cases, most of the cases that were rustic bans, it's not like that. It's actually like just straight up like stupid. There's no reason to ban them.
60 to 80%.
60 to 80% of rustic bans.
Yeah.
including you now. Me and you are both in that
Yeah,
counter now. Me and you are both in the band counter, actually.
I know.
I
Sad
think
days.
there's more people who have been banned from the server who are actually in it now. That's just my opinion.
Will not disagree.
You won't
I don't
disagree?
know I don't know the raw data, but you know that I would not be too surprised. So
Wow. All right. We're getting short on time soon, so let's jump to the stuff you want to talk about. Because I've been asking questions the whole time, and I'll let you say what you want to say.
um, well, you know, this interview's been the first one was very nice, and the second one I feel like is even better because they actually know what to expect, and I feel a lot more confident in the answers I'm
A lot
giving.
more prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've known each other for a couple of days,
About
but we've gotten
yeah.
to know each other better, so it's good to know.
So I
Yeah.
think Airlog's genuinely the best person. I don't agree with everything he's done, but I can't really tell you any real complaints that I have about him. And if
You
I
can
had,
tell me in DMs later.
yeah, if I if I if this was me during our first interview, I'd say I don't know, give people a second chance and maybe just try talking to them. And I'm not gonna go hate on the Great War Redux because there's good people there, good people there, and I don't know what their future is gonna be now.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'm still gonna stand by. Don't just go on to the Great War Redux to hate. If you have real
Yeah.
criticism, I mean that's something
Agree.
else. But
I won't accept that. I won't stop going
uh,
to there just to like, because all that does is just makes Russick and Silent feel more
think
validated that
yeah.
their actions are just.
So with me being banned, I will not have a place going forward with the mod. This is kind of my final salute to the mod. You know, two
Yeah.
years of mod coding to
Hey,
be
that's still
banned.
your IP. What you worked on is still your IP.
I'm not concerned about that really, you know, but it does
Mhm.
feel strangely freeing because here recently, before this drama started, coding went from a fun hobby to kind of like a chore for me because you know I have school, I have a job, I have a relationship, um, and just other things that coding became a chore to do in my opinion. So
Mhm.
this was kind of the push I needed, you know. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if I'll go to a different mod because well, a huge reason I loved the Great War Redux is our focus on historical accuracy, and from what I've seen, no other
Mhm.
World War One mod has um, really shown that. And they can have their schizopaths, but I think that
Mhm.
having historical accuracy there at least two is just as accurate, just as important
Yeah.
because
I'll agree with you there because I do believe in a balance.
yeah, because
But I think you keep continue.
Hearts of Iron, in my opinion, is a game, but it shouldn't gloss over real history because World War One and the time around it was an incredibly interesting time, incredibly tragic time too. And if you first thought of that as a mod where you can, you know, make the HRE, then I think, I mean, you can have all the fun you want too, but I think maybe you're a little immature, you know, because there's real history that I think is a lot more important, and that's what I tried to represent when I was
Mhm.
making Hungary. And
Yeah. I
but you know,
mean, we can disagree on there, but I'm glad we can still have civil conversations. You know,
mhm,
unlike some people. But yeah, it's really glad to hear from you, Shadow.
mhm, glad to talk.
All right. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's about it for me.
All right. Thank you, Shadow, for coming in for a second interview. If anyone's interested, this is check out part one. And yeah, stay tuned for more. Thank you. Thank you, Shadow.
All right.
Thank you. And that should be it.